The council chamber was not used to silence. Usually, it was filled with noise, loud voices, and arguments between alien races. But tonight was different. Tonight, every delegate sat still, their eyes fixed on the floating hologram in the center of the room. A strange signal had been picked up from the Sol system. It was short, clear, and came from Earth. No one knew what it meant, but they all felt something cold in the air. The signal carried no threats, no explanations, only 4 quiet words. Stand by for arrival. For a galaxy used to seeing humanity as weak, those words hit harder than any weapon. The alien leaders shifted in their seats, unsure if they should laugh or be afraid. Some whispered that Earth had finally gone mad. Others said humans were bluffing again, trying to act bigger than they were. For decades, the Council had pushed Earth to follow their rules. Taxes, trade restrictions, blocked technologies. They had treated humanity like a child. And humans had stayed silent, always silent, as if waiting for something. That silence now felt dangerous. In the back of the chamber, an elder commander from the Drakari Empire leaned forward, his claws tapping on the desk. He had fought humans before and remembered how strange they were in war. They never showed their full hand. They smiled even when surrounded. They retreated only to return stronger. And they kept secrets. They wouldn't send this signal if it meant nothing, he whispered. But no one answered him. In space, rumors had already started spreading. A Terran structure deep under the oceans had become active. Long-range scanners saw strange energy spikes beneath the Pacific. Some believed it was a test. Others whispered it was something else, something they were never supposed to see. High above Earth, alien surveillance fleets shifted positions, adjusting their orbits. They had been watching the planet for years, and nothing had ever changed. But this night felt different. It was quiet, too quiet. Oceans were moving strangely. A faint vibration traveled through the water, strong enough to reach orbit. Drones sent images back to the Council. Nothing visible yet, but the readings were climbing fast. The Council analysts looked at the numbers, their hearts sinking. This was not a normal energy surge. This was something massive waking up. The Galactic Council's supreme speaker, a tall, silver-skinned alien with bright green eyes, raised his hand. "We will treat this as a security matter," he said with his usual calm. "Earth has no right to build without permission. If they attempt to launch anything, our fleets will neutralize it." But even his calm voice could not hide the tremor in it. He didn't like this feeling. He had seen human stubbornness before. Every war with them had ended with unexpected turns. They always had one last move. And if they had kept something hidden for years, maybe even decades, then tonight could be the moment they finally showed it. Far away, deep under the Pacific Ocean, giant shadows moved in the darkness. A hidden facility, silent for years, had come alive. Pressure doors opened one by one, and old engines rumbled like a heartbeat, returning after a long sleep. Blue lights flashed along a massive shape buried in the seabed. It wasn't a base. It wasn't a station. It was something else. The people of Earth had built it in silence, under the nose of the galaxy, waiting for the day they would need it. And that day had finally come. The ocean around the structure shook, as if something enormous was pushing upward. Fish scattered in all directions. Currents changed, and a deep, rumbling sound moved through the water like thunder trapped beneath the waves. Up above, on every alien ship, alarms began to scream. Mass displacement detected, the scanners warned. Council fleets locked their weapons on Earth, ready to fire at a moment's notice. But no one knew what they were aiming at. The target had not yet surfaced. Inside the chamber, panic started to grow. One of the delegates slammed his fist on the table. "This is madness! Earth cannot have built something of that scale without us noticing." Another shouted, "Shut it down before it's too late." But the elder Drakari commander only stared at the hologram with narrow eyes. "It's already too late," he said. "They've been waiting for this moment." A strange, cold silence returned to the chamber. Every alien leader felt it. Something powerful was rising from the depths, something they had never seen before. And the most terrifying part was not the sound, not the energy readings, not the movement beneath the water. It was the fact that humanity had said nothing else. No threats, no demands, just that single message: stand by for arrival. For the first time in years, the Galactic Council felt something it had forgotten. Fear. They had mocked humans for too long, believing they were just another young species. But humans had built something in the dark, hidden in plain sight. And now the galaxy would see it. Ships in orbit fell silent. Council leaders held their breath. The ocean trembled once more. Something massive was coming, and nothing would ever be the same again. Under the cold weight of the deep Pacific, something ancient and powerful stirred. The water above it shifted like a living thing, waves rising without wind, as if the ocean itself feared what was waking beneath. For decades, humanity had buried its secret in silence, far from the eyes of the Galactic Council, far from alien scanners, far from anyone who could interfere. Engineers who had worked on the project were sworn to silence, living and dying with the secret locked in their bones. It was more than a weapon. It was a warning, and now that warning was coming to life. Massive doors the size of cities groaned under the pressure of the deep. A low vibration echoed through the water, growing louder with each passing second. Inside the dark chamber, old machines hummed for the first time in years. Blue lights ignited along smooth black metal, revealing the impossible shape buried in the ocean floor. It was a ship, but not like any ship the galaxy had ever seen. Its armor was matte black, built to absorb light, built to hide from everything. Its edges were sharp, its body long and silent, like a blade forged to cut through the stars. On the surface, alien surveillance fleets moved uneasily. Their scanners screamed with false readings, unable to understand what was happening beneath. One captain ordered a closer scan, but the signal bounced back like it had hit a wall. Another tried to launch a probe, but it was crushed before it could reach the water. The ocean wasn't just a hiding place. It was a shield. The warship had been sleeping beneath it like a beast under ice, and the galaxy was finally hearing it breathe. In the council chamber, the tension cracked like glass. Dozens of voices overlapped, accusations, demands, warnings. The Supreme Speaker shouted for silence, but even he couldn't calm the storm now. One ambassador from the Rin Collective slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This is an act of war," he hissed. Earth was supposed to remain under control. This is a declaration. Another alien, pale-skinned and shaking, whispered, "Or it's a message." The elder Drakari commander simply stared at the live feed. His old, scarred face barely moved, but inside he felt something no one else wanted to admit. Respect. The humans had done the impossible. Far below, the warship's engines began to glow. But there was no sound, no explosion, no fire. Only a silent pulse of blue light spread through the water, pushing it aside like a living force. Massive turbines turned slowly, power surging through lines that had been dead for decades. On the hull, a symbol appeared, glowing faintly. A human star surrounded by a black ring. It wasn't meant to intimidate. It was meant to remind the galaxy who they were dealing with. Alien fleets hovered just outside the atmosphere, their weapons hot, their commanders nervous. No one wanted to make the first move. Every eye was locked on the water, waiting to see what would break through. The ocean swelled higher, spiraling into a storm that stretched for hundreds of miles. Thunder rolled, but it wasn't from the sky. It came from below. A single panel on the warship shifted, revealing a line of glowing vents along its side. Slowly, impossibly slowly, the warship began to rise. The first glimpse came like a nightmare. A curved black hull surfaced, slick with water and shining faintly under the lightning-filled sky. It rose higher and higher, its true scale becoming clearer with every second. It was larger than anything the Council fleets had ever built. Its silhouette swallowed the horizon, and its engine hum rattled the air like a heartbeat the entire world could feel. Inside the council chamber, fear spread like fire. "That size. It's not possible," one delegate stammered. "No race can build that alone." But humanity had. They had built it without permission, without help, without anyone noticing. And the galaxy had no idea how. The Supreme Speaker's hand trembled as he adjusted the controls on the console. "They can't use it," he said weakly. "They wouldn't dare." But even as he spoke, The ocean erupted like a wound tearing open, and the ship broke free. Climbing toward the surface like a monster rising from a dream, drones flew around it, recording every inch of the warship's black surface, but their signals faltered. The hull seemed to bend space around it, twisting sensors, making readings useless. "It's jamming everything," a technician cried. "We can't get full scans." The Supreme Speaker whispered, "They planned this. They planned everything." The ship hovered just above the water now, dripping with the ocean it had conquered. Its engines roared once, and the waves bowed beneath it. Every alien fleet captain felt it. The pressure, the weight, the presence. It wasn't just a warship. It was a message carved into steel. Earth had been silent for years, but silence had never meant weakness. It had meant preparation. The Council's war fleets adjusted positions, forming a ring around the blue planet. But they weren't hunting anymore. They were waiting. And as the warship tilted its nose toward the stars, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity had finally opened its hand. And inside that hand was something the galaxy wasn't ready to face. The ocean mist clung to the air like smoke as the warship finally rose into full view. Waves crashed against its sides and broke like they were nothing. The black surface of the massive vessel reflected no light, swallowing the storm above it. It was not a ship made to be admired. It was made to frighten. It stood still, suspended above the sea, as if the planet itself bowed beneath its weight. From orbit, every alien satellite and fleet captured the same image, an impossible shape cutting through the world. For years, they had laughed at Earth. Now, no one was laughing. Inside the control centers of dozens of alien fleets, panic and disbelief mixed like fire and oil. Officers barked orders. Technicians struggled to get readings. But every system told the same story. The energy signatures coming from the ship were off the charts. Its core was hotter than anything they'd ever seen. Shields rippled around it like a living storm, bending scanners, jamming signals, making every attempt to measure it meaningless. It was like staring into a black hole wearing armor. In the Galactic Council chamber, the tension turned into quiet terror. Delegates leaned forward, watching the live feed in silence. Their faces twitched, their eyes wide. No one expected this. The Supreme Speaker's hands clenched the edge of the desk. "That's not a cruiser," he whispered. "That's something else." One ambassador from the Rin Collective trembled. "We have nothing that size. Nothing with that kind of energy output." Another delegate hissed, "They shouldn't be able to build this. Their world doesn't have the resources for this." But they were wrong. Humanity had been building it in silence for years. On Earth, storms formed around the rising ship like nature itself was responding. Lightning cracked the sky, illuminating the sharp, spear-like shape of the warship's bow. The sheer scale made alien destroyers look like toys. It was longer than entire city blocks, its armor covered in smooth, black plating. It had no bright colors, no flashy banners, no sign of warning. It didn't need to warn. Its presence was the warning. Above the planet, alien fleets shifted formation nervously. Commanders whispered to their crews to keep weapons ready, but none of them dared to fire. They didn't even know where to aim. The ship's surface had no clear weak point. Its energy readings made targeting systems flicker. It was like trying to lock onto a storm. Every alien captain knew what they were looking at was not some desperate human defense ship. This was something else entirely. The elder Drakari commander watched with narrowed eyes, remembering the wars long ago. He had seen human fleets fight even when outnumbered. He had seen their stubbornness turn hopeless battles into victories. But this was something he couldn't explain. "They were never weak," he muttered. "We just never saw their teeth." His words were drowned out by the sound of another wave crashing against the hull, echoing through the chamber like a drumbeat. At the warship's stern, engines came alive, but there was no explosion of fire like other fleets used. Instead, the air shimmered with quiet force. The warship began to rise slowly from the surface, water falling away from its body like rain. It climbed without effort, as if gravity itself was a suggestion. The alien fleet surrounding Earth followed its movement like prey watching a predator. No words came from the humans, no threats, no explanations. Just the silent rising of a weapon no one was ready to face. The Supreme Speaker turned to his Security Council. "This is impossible," he said, trying to steady his voice. "Even the Arvel Empire couldn't build something of this class. How did humans—" But no one had an answer. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. They had hidden this from the eyes of the galaxy while pretending to be weak, pretending to be controlled. Now they were showing the truth, and it was terrifying. As the warship reached the clouds, lightning danced across its black hull. A single symbol glowed faintly on the side, a star within a black ring. A symbol of Earth, the symbol of silence before power. In orbit, every alien commander realized the same thing. If a single ship could rise like this, no one knew how many more might be waiting. And worse, they had no idea what this ship could do. The fleets kept their distance, every ship armed but trembling. No one dared to fire the first shot. If they attacked and failed, they knew what would happen next. The balance of power across the galaxy would shatter. One single ship had made an entire galaxy hold its breath. And the humans hadn't even said a single word. The warship reached orbit like it was born for it, moving smoothly, almost silently. Alien ships scattered back without being ordered, instincts taking over logic. They felt like prey. For the first time in history, the galaxy saw Earth not as a weak world, but as something that had been hiding its claws in the shadows. The moment the warship entered the black of space, the galaxy understood. Everything had changed. The galaxy had never known fear like this before. As the warship settled in the dark of orbit, the stars around it looked dimmer, as if the light itself avoided touching its surface. The alien fleets floating nearby tightened formation, but kept their distance. No one dared to be the first to act. No one wanted to trigger whatever storm was hidden inside that silent machine. The ship did nothing, yet its presence felt like a blade resting against every alien's throat. Its black armor swallowed sensor beams, its engines hummed with quiet power, and its size cast a shadow on the very planet it came from. For a galaxy that thought it had already seen the height of human technology, this was a nightmare wrapped in steel. Inside the council chamber, the mood had shifted from arrogance to panic. The same delegates who had once mocked Earth for being weak now couldn't even look away from the live feed. The Supreme Speaker's hands shook as he gripped the table. "This was never in our reports," he whispered. "No fleet, no spy, no satellite. How did they build this without us seeing?" The elder Drakari commander tilted his head slightly, his voice rough like old stone. "Because they wanted you to think they were harmless," he said, and we believed it. The Rin Collective ambassador slammed his clawed hand on the desk. "We have to act now. We have to destroy it before they—" But his voice cracked when the warship moved. It didn't turn sharply or jerk like normal ships. It moved smoothly, almost elegantly, tilting its massive body like a hunter stretching its wings. Just that movement made every alien fleet in orbit back away without orders. Commanders whispered to their crews, weapons heated, shields raised. But no one dared to fire. Far above Earth, alien ships scrambled for a clearer view, but their scanners couldn't read anything. The warship's hull bent their signals like they were nothing. Communication lines were flooded with static. One fleet captain tried to send a coded message back to the council, but his words were cut short. "It's blocking everything." It wasn't just a weapon. It was control. Humanity had built something that silenced the galaxy without firing a single shot. In the darkness of space, the warship's hull began to glow faintly with blue lines, like veins under skin. One by one, they lit up in perfect rhythm, running across the ship's body in patterns no one had ever seen. It was a design unlike any known technology in the galaxy. It didn't look alien. It didn't look human either. It looked like something older, sharper, made with patience that terrified every mind watching. Even the most advanced alien species had no match for that kind of precision. Panic spread through the alien fleets like a cold wind. Commanders shouted to hold position, to stay calm, to not provoke. But their voices shook. It wasn't just the warship's size. It was the silence. Humanity hadn't said a single word since the signal. No demands, no threats, no warning. They just let the warship speak for them. And it spoke louder than any voice could. The council chamber filled with shouting. One delegate yelled for immediate strikes. Another screamed about calling reinforcements from the outer sectors. But deep down, every single one of them knew the truth. If the warship could rise like this, it was built to face anything. A single mistake could end entire fleets in seconds. The Supreme Speaker leaned back in his chair, pale, as he realized what Earth had done. For years, they had treated humanity like an underdog, a small world begging for scraps. But the humans had smiled, nodded, played their part, while hiding their true power beneath their oceans. The elder Drakari commander closed his eyes for a brief second. "They've been planning this," he said quietly. "They never forgot how we treated them. They never forgot the restrictions, the insults, the chains. This is not a surprise. This is a reminder." His words fell like cold stones into the silence. Above Earth, the warship rose higher, its engines releasing a soft, steady hum. The light from its glowing lines spread across the surface, reflecting off the fleet surrounding it. One alien captain whispered to his second in command, "We are looking at the end of the old order." And he was right. The moment this ship came out of the ocean, the balance of power in the galaxy shattered. Civilian transmissions across different star systems exploded with fear. Traders fled trade routes, colonies sent warnings, and independent worlds declared emergency alerts. The name Earth suddenly meant something it never had before. For centuries, they had been just another small blue planet. Now they were the center of the galaxy's fear. In orbit, no one moved. No one breathed too loudly. The warship didn't need to threaten anyone. Its silent rise, its black armor, its living light, and the cold certainty behind its existence were more terrifying than any weapon ever made. For the first time, the galaxy wasn't the one watching Earth. Earth was watching them, and everyone could feel it. The fleets surrounding Earth were on edge, their formation like a ring of trembling knives around a sleeping predator. Dozens of alien ships hovered in the darkness, their weapons charged, their captains whispering to their crews with tight throats and cold hands. None of them had ever faced something like this. They were used to controlling humanity, not fearing it. They thought Earth would never be a threat, but now one ship had turned their entire strategy into dust. It floated silently in orbit, black as night, its blue veins of light glowing faintly like a heartbeat. It did not speak. It did not move aggressively, but it felt like every second it waited was a warning. Inside the command deck of the largest alien dreadnought, a commander shouted, "Hold your positions! Do not provoke!" His voice was strong, but his hands trembled. He stared at the massive human warship through his main viewport. It didn't look like a ship, it looked like a storm, patient and unshakable. But panic spread fast among the lower fleets. One nervous pilot's hand twitched on a weapon control panel. A single missile lock flashed red for half a second, and in that half second, everything changed. The warship rotated slowly, smoothly, like a giant turning its gaze. Its forward hull realigned, and a long, dark shape extended from the center of its body. It was a cannon, long and sleek, almost beautiful in a cold, terrifying way. No sound came from it. No bright lights or shaking engines, just silence. But every scanner in orbit screamed with warning signals. Energy levels inside the warship spiked so high that alien ships began to retreat instinctively, engines flaring as commanders shouted to fall back. One alien captain tried to send a warning to the council, but his voice cracked. Their weapon is locking on. Even before he finished, the cannon glowed with a deep, focused light. Then it fired. No explosion, no thunder, just a thin beam of light slicing through space like a whisper. It passed through a cruiser on the far side of the formation like a hot blade through ice. The cruiser didn't explode. It didn't even scream. It simply disappeared, erased from existence, turned into fragments of dust floating where a warship used to be. Every fleet captain froze. The council chamber went silent. Millions of civilians across distant systems watching the live broadcast stopped breathing. A single shot, one, and an entire warship was gone as if it had never been built. The galaxy had seen many powerful weapons before, but this was something different. This was clean, fast, absolute retreat. A commander shouted, panic breaking through the silence. Ships scattered backward like prey, shields powered to maximum. Fighters launched but did not approach. Even the most aggressive alien generals understood what they were facing now. This was not a fight they could win. Not here. Not now. Inside the council chamber, chaos erupted. Delegates shouted over each other, fear pouring out like a storm. "We must strike now," one cried. "We have to negotiate," another screamed. But the Supreme Speaker said nothing. His eyes were locked on the black warship, his mouth dry, his heart hammering. For years they had forced Earth to obey. Now Earth had erased a cruiser with the ease of brushing away a fly. "This is not war," he finally whispered. "This is power." Up in orbit, the warship didn't chase the retreating fleet. It didn't fire again. It simply returned to stillness, its cannon cooling, its engines glowing faintly like a predator, returning to silence after a single strike. That silence was louder than any threat. The galaxy had just seen what would happen if they ever crossed a line again. On the alien dreadnought, one officer whispered, "One ship." Just one ship did that. The commander didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat was tight, his eyes locked on the warship as if it could hear his thoughts. Throughout the galaxy, panic spread like wildfire. Broadcast networks replayed the footage of that single beam over and over, entire planets watching it in silence. Governments called emergency meetings. Fleets were recalled. For the first time, the galaxy didn't ask what humanity could do. They asked how long humanity had been waiting for this moment. The black warship hung in space like a dark star, unmoving, patient, untouchable. The council fleets could surround it with thousands of ships, and it still wouldn't matter. That one shot had rewritten the rules. Humanity didn't need to beg, didn't need to warn. They had shown their teeth, and the galaxy now knew what it meant to stand against Earth. The galaxy had fallen into a strange, heavy silence. No more warnings, no more bold speeches, no more smug smiles from the council. Every fleet that had once hovered confidently over Earth now floated like prey that had just realized it was trapped in the hunter's den. The black warship remained motionless in orbit, as if it didn't need to do anything else. One shot had been enough. The message was already written in the shattered remains of the cruiser that no longer existed. It hung in the minds of every commander, every soldier, every politician watching from light years away. Then the transmission came. Not a roar, not a scream, just a single calm human voice echoing through every communication channel in the sector. "We asked for peace," the voice said. It was clear, steady, and cold. "You gave us chains." Across the council fleets, officers froze. The voice wasn't distorted. It wasn't threatening. It sounded too calm, and that calmness was worse than any shout. "You watched us bleed. You kept us under your boot. And all this time, you thought we were begging. But we were building. We were waiting. We are done waiting." Inside the council chamber, the delegates stared at the speakers as if they'd just heard the end of the world. The Supreme Speaker's face went pale. No human had ever dared speak to the entire council like this. "Cut the signal," someone shouted. "Block their channel." But the technicians stammered, "We can't. They've overridden everything." The warship had hijacked every broadcast frequency in the system, and no one could stop it. Humanity's voice echoed through the stars, unstoppable. On alien ships, soldiers who once laughed at Earth clenched their fists, realizing they were facing a power they didn't understand. The human voice continued. "We have no interest in your wars, no interest in your thrones. But if you try to control us again, you will not find mercy." The words were slow, cold, and precise. Not a declaration of war, a warning, and warnings from a warship that erased fleets with one shot were not taken lightly. The elder Drakari commander leaned forward slowly, listening with quiet respect. He had fought humans before. He knew how they thought. They didn't bluff. When humans said they would stand their ground, they meant it. When they built something in silence, It was never just for show. "They've changed the galaxy," he whispered. But no one answered him. Everyone knew he was right. In orbit, the warship slowly rotated, facing the largest alien dreadnought in the fleet. Its glowing blue lines pulsed once, like a heartbeat that made the entire formation flinch. Fighters retreated instinctively. Commanders gave quiet orders to lower their targeting systems, knowing one wrong move could erase them from existence. The ship didn't fire. It didn't need to. It was drawing an invisible line in the void, a line the galaxy knew it must never cross again. Then came the final part of the transmission. The human voice grew quiet, almost soft. "Earth is not your colony. We are not your subjects. We are not your prey. From this moment, the age of silence is over." And then the transmission ended. No dramatic music, no explosions, no flashing threats. Just silence once again. And that silence was louder than any fleet the Council had ever built. The Supreme Speaker collapsed back into his chair, hands trembling. The chamber that had once roared with pride now sat in dead quiet. No one could find the words. They had pushed humanity for decades, believing they were untouchable. And now they were staring at proof that they had never been in control. Humanity had hidden something so powerful that it could shake the galaxy with just one appearance. Across star systems, alien civilians whispered in fear. Some said Earth had more ships hidden. Others said this was only the beginning. Governors sent urgent messages to the Council asking what to do. But the truth was there was nothing to do. No strategy, no weapon, no fleet could guarantee a victory against something like this. The warship moved forward, slowly passing the alien dreadnought. Its engines flared with soft blue light, leaving a streak like a comet in the black. Not a single alien captain dared to follow. Not one commander gave the order to intercept. The ship moved as if it owned the space around it, because in that moment it did. The galaxy was watching Earth now, not as a weak world begging for mercy, but as a power that could no longer be ignored. Humanity had spoken once, and that was enough. The silence that followed didn't bring peace, it brought fear. And that fear was exactly what humanity wanted them to remember. The Council chamber, once the loudest place in the galaxy, sat in complete silence. No one dared to speak. The Supreme Speaker stared at the hologram of the black warship floating high above Earth, his hands still trembling against the table. The delegates who once laughed at humanity now shifted nervously in their seats, whispering to no one. Their faces were pale, their eyes filled with the quiet understanding that the balance of power had just been broken. For decades, the galaxy had moved to their rules, their laws, their control. But tonight, one human warship had torn all of that apart without even starting a war. In orbit, the alien fleets had pulled back, leaving a wide, empty space around the black vessel. No one dared to approach it. Its engines burned with a soft blue glow, slow and steady, like the heartbeat of a predator that knew no one would dare challenge it. The warship drifted calmly, watching the sky, watching the stars, watching the fleets that once watched Earth like prey. The galaxy had changed in a single night, and everyone knew it. Messages poured into the Council chamber from every sector. Border worlds were panicking. Civilian colonies begged for answers. Traders rerouted their ships away from human space, unsure if they were approaching a planet or a superweapon. Entire fleets requested permission to retreat, their captains refusing to stand anywhere near Earth. The Council had built an empire of control for centuries, but all it took was one ship to make it crumble. The elder Drakari commander leaned back in his chair, his old eyes fixed on the warship. He had seen empires rise and fall, but nothing like this. "They were never weak," he said softly. "We just never listened." His voice carried through the room like a quiet truth that no one wanted to admit. Humanity hadn't begged. Humanity hadn't screamed. They had simply waited for their moment. And when that moment came, they didn't ask permission. They showed power. On the bridge of the alien dreadnought, the commander stood in silence as the human warship passed slowly in front of them. It was close enough for the crew to feel the low hum of its engines through their hull. No weapons were pointed at them, but the weight of that ship was heavier than any fleet. Every soldier on board stood frozen, not because they had been ordered to, but because they understood what would happen if they made one wrong move. The warship continued its quiet path, passing through the heart of the alien formation. No one moved. No one even dared breathe too loud. Ships drifted out of its way like leaves before a storm. When it reached the edge of the fleet, it tilted upward, pointing its sharp black hull toward the stars. Engines flared with calm blue fire, and slowly, the ship began to leave Earth's orbit, not as prey escaping, but as a sovereign power declaring its place. Inside the council chamber, one trembling delegate finally spoke. What do we do now?" His voice cracked. The Supreme Speaker lowered his eyes. There was no plan, no strategy, no clever words to undo what had happened. They had controlled Earth with rules, restrictions, and arrogance. But humanity had walked out from under their thumb with a single display of strength. The galaxy would never see them the same way again. In the following hours, the Council issued quiet orders. Fleets were recalled from human borders. Trade restrictions were quietly lifted. Patrol routes were changed to avoid Terran space. No one said it out loud, but everyone knew it. The galaxy was now negotiating with Earth, not commanding it. Across the stars, civilians watched the silent footage of the warship leaving orbit, its engines glowing faintly like a new star. For some, it was a symbol of terror. For others, a warning. But for humans, it was a promise. They had waited in silence long enough. Now the galaxy would listen. The elder Drakari commander whispered one last time. They didn't just build a ship, they built a throne. And as the black warship disappeared into the darkness between stars, every race in the galaxy understood one unshakable truth. Earth was no longer under the Council. The age of obedience was over. A new era had begun, and the first sound of it was the silence of a single warship.